Oh,
I was just notified this afternoon of this, and so I am standing in for Johnny Teeter. So calling this meeting to order at 6 p.m. Now it's 6:01 p.m. I am look around the room. I'm going to affirm that we have Sylvia, Doug, Kara, Sam in attendance, along with myself. I understand that Jennifer Yee is on spring break, and again, Johnny is home ill. And it looks like we have Kim in person, and I thought I was looking for this Sean. Oh,
that's Celia.
okay. Just changed it. Okay. Okay. So declaring a quorum, and we do not see any public other than Chris in attendance here in our meeting, acknowledging you and other staff members in attendance. So moving to agenda item number 4, consideration of the minutes of February 13th, followed by March 2nd. So consideration of the minutes of February 13th, 2024. Any changes or issues of concern related to the minutes that haven't yet been addressed? Motion to approve the minutes. Motions for second.
Second.
Motion by Sylvia, second by Doug. All those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? No. The minutes of March 2nd, 2024. Any edits or changes to minutes that haven't yet been addressed? Seeing none. Motion to approve the March 2nd. minutes. Oh, by Sylvia? Yeah, okay. And a second?
I'll second.
And a second by Doug. All those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Thank you. Those March 2nd minutes are approved. We're going to move on to the treasurer's report. Sylvia?
Thank you. This should be in your packet, or there should be a copy of these pages with your packet today, because as usual, I didn't get it to Celia on time. Thank you, Celia, for getting them out. Okay, so financial report, and I've tried to stick with the format that we had last month, keeping into an account, taking into account what we talked about. So if I'm missing anything, just let me know and we'll add it back in. These are not set in stone, as you know. So financial report, kind of a good overview. The property tax disbursement revenue for January and February is around 6.3 million. Most of that was in February. Current cash on hand balance, including the CD account, is 20.8 million. The CD account from JP Morgan will mature on March 28th with an estimated 100K in interest earned. And I will let David jump in to tell us a little bit more about the CD account. If you're
now.
So want to do that now?
Sure.
Okay.
So my recommendation is that we roll it over for another 3 months. And if you've read the memo in the packet, like our cash flow, we are heavily skewed towards the beginning of the year up through August. So our cash will be really good. And so I'm actually recommending that you add an additional $5 million to another 3-month CD. And I think we'll revisit again at the end of June. So there's quite likely that we'll roll all 15 of that over for another 3 months. At that time, once the October timeframe rolls around, by the cash flow analysis that we've done, we'll have to start drawing that down. I don't know what the dollar amount will be, but we'll have to draw that down in order to make the $7 million payment. And really after August or September, the amount of payments that we get in terms of tax distribution from the treasurer, it's not much. It's like $100,000 a month or something like that. So after August, we don't really see new revenue, but I think it would be fine. Certainly, I we are fine through June.
So. Isn't our first payment to the city like to
June 1.
June 1?
Mhm.
And we
Yeah.
should have the cash flow that
Yeah,
so
so
we add this extra, because it
Yeah.
won't mature till the end of June then.
yeah, so our accounts, we started in January with
Right.
million in the bank. We put everything mostly in CDs, and we'll be back in that place probably in June 2nd.
Okay.
Once we've made the payment. I think it'll be higher than that, honestly. We're not hitting expenditures at 1.5 million a month.
Yeah.
So I've accounted for anticipated expenditures March through June to be $6.5 million. That could very easily be $5 million. And so there's going to be an extra $2.5 million there to cushion us once we've made the payment to the city of 7 million.
Okay.
And how much interest do we think we can earn with 15 million in another 3?
Yeah, so it's probably another $160,000. So I think I mean just back a napkin, right? Like you can do the math
Yeah, I mean-
yourself. I think the amount for this first quarter is around $109,000, and so in the overall scheme of things, it doesn't sound like much, but honestly, it's
Something like much.
yeah, it's a couple of staff members. It's nearly. In the next quarter, we'll earn in that quarter, roughly the equivalent of what we will pay in rent to a gun barrel facility if we have it, for the year.
No, I mean, it sounds like real money to me.
Yeah, it is real money, and by just rough, again, back and napkin calculations, nobody's guaranteeing us anything. I think through the course of this year, we will have earned probably around $750,000 in interest through the full year, both with the interest earning account that we have plus the CDs. But the more we can maximize the money in the CDs, obviously that increases your earnings by about 25%, 25%. So, yeah. That would be, I do need you to tell me, is it a motion?
I was just going to ask that. Do we need to make an official action? Okay.
So should we
Roll the CD, is that what?
To roll the
to
CD
roll
into-
over this and add another
5.
into a 3-month CD?
Yeah.
Okay. All right, make a motion to roll over the 10 million that we currently have and then add an additional 5 million for another 3-month CD. Or it's not CD, is it a CD?
Let's see.
Okay, CD, yeah.
Yep.
Um,
And the earnings,
and the,
and the earnings, right?
Oh, I hadn't thought of that. but
Yes.
Is that what you like to do? Yes.
Right, because we're not
Plus the
pulling those
interest,
out,
yep,
right?
yeah.
Okay.
well, they'll come out, we'll get, yeah, I mean, because the CD pays with interest.
Right, but
I don't-
we're rolling over those earnings, not just,
You're thinking all of it.
yes.
Yeah.
Okay, that, yeah,
I mean,
plus the earnings.
Yep, no, you're right. I hadn't thought of that. That's good. So is that the will of the board?
And if you accept,
I'll make that motion, yeah, all right, and we'll roll over 10 million plus the earnings and the 5 million into a 3-month CD. That's the motion. Kim, you can make that better.
and is there a second to that motion?
Sounds perfect.
Or
second.
or Celia.
All those in favor, indicate by saying
Right.
aye. Aye. Opposed? Unanimous?
Thank you very much.
okay, so then going back to this report, accumulated interest earned from checking account year to date, so we're talking only January to February, was 35.9K. Operating expenses in January were 661K and capital was 33K. Board governance expenses, 17K. Looks like some furniture was purchased and installed. And so we've spent 191K, which is half of the cost. That's been done. The Sage Intact system is live, but there's still a lot of processing and moving things over. Admin Services is preparing for their annual audit, and an offer for the new accounting specialist position was accepted, and the start date will be March 25th, which is a really big deal because that'll take a little bit of this off of Adriana's plate. So then we also have the profit and loss, which basically is just for January of 2024. And if you recall, last month when we did this, we had through all of 2023. So this is looking a little bit smaller because it's just for the first month. So like when you look at the interest there, it has the 19, but then when you look at the financial report, it has a lot more than 19. It has 35.9. So that's why the difference is there. And you can really see that there's a lot of purchasing of books and increasing that, which I think is amazing. And that's reflected in David's report too. And then the profit and loss on the back page is basically just our expenses as a board. And of course, that's pretty small again, because it's just January of 2024. And that's all I have.
The IT consultants just Focus Connect.
Yeah. So it is a regular expense. You'll see it every month. So the consultant's contract, right? So we have, they maintain our network. They do most of the tickets that are submitted. Tickets, and they're managing our security.
You think it'll security cameras? It'll be 90K a month, you think? Or is that?
Oh, I think the total cost for the year, I'd have to go back and
I
look.
thought it was like 350K.
Yeah, to make it.
I just,
I think 450 is like roughly for the whole year, right?
yeah, yeah.
Yeah, I have a total. I didn't bring that with me, but I have the total amount that we expect
Okay, I just,
here.
Okay.
I don't know without Adriana being here if there was
She put it in.
yeah,
there was a closeout payment.
could be other payments in there too. I just was.
Yeah, yeah. I was curious about on the second page, the opening books collection. What is the opening books collection?
That's for Novo. So
Okay,
the opening day.
okay.
So when we open a new location, and what line is that?
It's 63,100 on the second page. And I don't have my glasses on, so no promises that that's actually the right number. Okay.
Yeah, so typically opening a new building, we budget for Novo a little over $200,000 for the opening day collection. So, there's a lot of stuff, and we'll get more familiar with this as we go. So we approved of a 63% increase in the overall materials budget. So we up until the district, we were around $1 million a year. We moved that to $1.6 million, slightly above $1.6 million. For this year one, we anticipate opening Novo and then potentially also buying the opening day collection for Gun Barrel. Those are two additional costs, so that materials budget will be about $2 million this year, right? So the extra 200 for opening days, we consider the collection a capital expense. So yeah, that budget for this year is at a level that, it's double what it was last year, but 400,000 of that, about 20% is for opening day collections at Novo and potentially.
Thanks.
What are the legal consultants fees? Are those ours
I'm sorry.
that are listed there?
I don't think so, because that is, oh wait, no, maybe that is right. I might be looking at the wrong, is it 16?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's correct.
Yeah,
If you Look over on the,
Okay, so that's.
on the
but that's
last
ours
page,
expense?
yep,
Okay.
that matches what's
Okay.
on the,
Okay.
Yep.
But just showing her. Okay.
yep, that's it.
Okay, and the board food, I see it there. Okay, so just all that.
I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
I was looking for the security guards. Where are they? Here.
Yeah, so let me find that as well. We have all new numbering systems on.
There's a line called security services, but it's $135. So
Nope, that's not right.
yeah, unless it got transposed with business travel, which is 15,000. That's a lot of business travel for a month.
That is a lot of business travel. But I should expect that is money expended and reimbursed for people going to a conference in
Okay.
Columbus, Ohio, and there's a bunch of us going.
Gotcha.
Oh, I wish I could.
Good.
So our total anticipated charge for the security team for the year is about $675,000. So where that line goes here, I'm sorry.
Yeah, I was
do not
wondering if
see
it
it.
got parked in salaries, even though they're contractors, or I don't know.
I don't think it would. It is, it does live, I believe, in a administrative line. In a line in the administration budget.
Well, no big deal. I sort of love to find it.
Yeah,
Did you have a question related to,
I just wanted to see what it was. He just told me
Okay.
the annual, so. And
Yeah.
the math now. But I would just, I guess I was seeing if that was tracking, but. It's in here somewhere is what you're saying.
I am assuming
Yeah.
it is, unless we, I wish I could tell you precisely which line.
That's all right.
And if I could verify the number, that would be helpful to me as well. And I apologize, like this is, this numeric system. We'll all get used to it and eventually we'll have all these numbers memorized, but for now, it's very confusing to me.
So maybe we could ask Adriana and then get back to everybody.
I will.
Okay. Thank you.
are folks okay moving on from treasurer's report?
Yeah, that's it.
More sure? Thank
That's
you.
it.
Library policies review?
So we discussed and you approved on initial reading the updated computer use and internet safety policy at your last meeting. We did bring back a revised version, which just essentially reorganized it along the way manner in which you had. We call out the overview and essentially what we are adopting. I don't, if you have any questions, I'm happy to take them. And if you do not have any questions, then we would seek approval from this board so it can become a policy. This is, I believe, your second reading of it. Essentially, this, I mean, the gist of this policy is, making it clear that we do filter, right? So we filter all the computers from the computer. We filter the wireless as well. I realize like that's not always something that everybody's always on board with. It is a requirement for the Colorado Internet Protection for Children, Protection of Children, and complies with federal law. In order for us to receive some state grants, we have to comply with the CPA, the Federal Children's Internet Protection. And hence we do. And that's the main gist of the policy itself. I don't believe we've changed much here in it. We did try to clarify the policy on the request for reconsideration, because anybody can go and say like, I would like to see this site, and we will allow it. It doesn't happen like that. It happens in 24 hours.
And out of curiosity, like how often has that happened? Like,
I think it's happened twice in 10 years. There have been incidents where people have alerted us to websites that they couldn't access because of the language, right? And then the indication, assuming that there may be images there that would be offensive. But yeah, you can easily imagine breast cancer awareness, like the site related to that might be blocked inadvertently by the software. And we just go in and we add the websites that should not be blocked. And I don't think there are very many of them now, but the web changes all the time. Less so now than 10 years ago, but the web is a very fluid beast. And occasionally, I think twice, we've had requests for people to access different sites. Issues have arisen also with gambling sites, which we don't.
And then if someone else came in and wanted that site blocked, same policy, reconsideration.
You said we don't allow gambling sites, right?
I don't believe we do. I think we are blocked. We have no way of ensuring that people are 18. Any other questions on the policy?
We need.
So we had an option of either continuing this to the next meeting to vote on it, or we could vote on it now if folks were comfortable voting on it. Yeah.
Okay, but now.
About the First Amendment policy, but that's,
Yeah, no, we'll get to that one next, and this will be your first opportunity to look at that. one.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
So are folks fine with, I mean, is there a motion to?
I would move to approve the computer use and internet policy.
Second that.
Okay. Okay, all those in favor, okay, by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, unanimously approved.
All right, and so then the First Amendment protected activities policy is one that's new for the library. And also, this is your first time reading it, so we based it off of a couple of other libraries who had similar policies. This is essentially the right of the library as a quasi-public space and a government space to control the time, manner, and place of public demonstration and public speech. So it is written in a positive frame in order to protect those rights of individuals to publicly demonstrate or seek signatures and gather petitions. They do have a right to do so. And while I was under the impression that our policy had already included a time, manner, and place provision, it did not. And so we put this together for you guys to consider. I feel it's very important that we can control the time, manner, and place of public speech because of any kind of misperceptions that the library itself is a public forum, which we are not. And that's a subtle difference between a public place and a public forum. Obviously we're public place, but what the Supreme Court has recognized as a public forum are not libraries and not government buildings and rarely the interior of anything, but it's something like what you would see for the right to publicly demonstrate in the street or in a public park. Those are forums that are considered a public forum. So for here, obviously we respect the right of everyone to do what they like, but we can control the time, manner, and place of them doing so. So this follows our practices that we've kind of implemented over the time. The demonstrations and petitioning are permitted at least 15 feet away from the entrance. We don't want them bothering people coming in and out of the building. We don't want them approaching the parking lot. And that signs may not be posted in or on our building structures.
So the bullet point that says that demonstrators and petitioners may not approach people in the parking lots, is the implication that they can approach people between the door and the parking lot?
Typically what you see, they do, right? So
Yeah.
so long as they are civil. If we get a complaint, we ask them to stop. Right? So
Okay,
that is-
that's intentional, like that.
Yeah, so-
okay.
Yeah, the parking lot is a different thing in terms of perceived safety. And they're in an open space, and typically where we see it is on either entryway, not here this time right now because the door's not working, but on that side, you see them in the entryway. We ask them to stay back away from him, but as people exit the building or are coming up to the building, you quite often see them step forward and say, are you a registered member of the, People's Party of whatever? They say yes, then they pursue a conversation. If people are interested in signing a petition, they do so. People are also allowed to carry signs to protest. We have not allowed in the past is people to set up shop, like tables and stuff like that. That's been something that we've always deferred to. I don't know if you have an opinion about it, but now that we surveyed that area in the past, they had to get a permit from the city of Boulder to put up a table or any kind of tent structure in the park. And there really wasn't a process to do so. So it just basically meant we were telling them to go get a permit, which they probably were not going to be able to get, and they couldn't get a table. So I don't know that we've had an issue with tables and tents and stuff like that in that entryway thus far. I suppose if it became a problem, we would address it.
Were your issues addressed? That you faced?
Well, where is we just have the entryways, right?
Yeah, so it's in perfectly described area, but it is
Yeah.
It is the walkway on both sides of the front door going to the sidewalk, or in the front going to the parking lot.
Okay,
And this one on this side is kind of imperfectly described. We don't control the playground, for instance.
Right.
It's some distance from that. What is that north facing door?
we don't really control the parking lots either, though, right? Like
We don't, but we can, and our policy does
allow
give
us
us
to-
purview to
Okay.
enforce library related behavioral guidelines
Right,
from the entire area encompassed by the sidewalks. So on both sides of the creek. And we do frequently, and even prior to the IGA, we do approach people in those areas to ask them to either pick up their mess or to behave a certain way. And, you know, our eyes are the ones that are typically on the parking lot. So if there's a report of an incident from the parking lot public, then our guards usually check it out before we then, or we call the police.
right. I guess we would just have to sort of say, if they sat up like over here on the side by the, you know, closer to the playground, that's city property, or would you, and
I mean,
they'd have to
it's a month-long process, but they could get it.
permit or,
Tent out
yeah,
on the sidewalks going down into the park.
yeah.
Yeah,
I think, I mean, yeah, I just don't, I wonder if like we should reference the city's policy for the civic area and say,
yeah. Do you have a recommendation for how you might want to do that? Because I'm happy to put it in there.
I would just say like for areas outside, you know, I'd say, you know, around the main library, it, you know, the civic area is the, you know, property of the city, and you'd have to consult their policies. Or I don't
And I
know.
think some of that's covered by the language about the disrupting the normal functioning of the library.
Yeah, I think you're right.
So like if it was
Just don't-
disrupting the functioning of the library, then we can still like say something about it, even if it's technically not our, I mean, I don't know, I feel like the playground's not international water, right? Like they can
Yeah.
still like.
Right,
they can
well,
still-
no, but
If it was disrupting the library.
But my biggest thing is like somebody's out over here is more that we get dinged for impinging somebody's First Amendment rights, and we say you can't do X at the playground or something, you know,
Yeah, we wouldn't do that.
you probably wouldn't do that anyway, but
No, we wouldn't. No, you know, and honestly, like neither would the city.
yeah,
You know, if somebody came and like entirely shut down our parking lot, they're not gonna interrupt that event.
yeah,
They
yeah,
just don't interrupt anything in a public right of ways like sidewalks and streets.
okay,
City doesn't interrupt. It takes them, well, you probably remember from when George Floyd died, it takes them 2 or 3 days.
yeah,
Anything. They kind of wait to see how it goes first.
right, okay,
But if somebody wanted to bring a couple tables and a pop-up tent and set up shop to promote whatever, we would let them do that.
At present, yeah, I think I think we're not telling them they cannot. Now, the city may come back and say, in order for you to have any kind of permanent structure in the park, you need to have a permit. I know that is the policy. You cannot construct any kind of structures in the park. But we're talking about the walkways right now. So those walkways there, if it wasn't an impediment to people being able to come in and out of the building, I don't know why we would necessarily stop them unless you want to. If you want to, then we can. But it doesn't make it, as long as they're not impeding people's and not harassing people. What difference does it make if they sit in a chair at a table or stand up? I don't know. It doesn't make any difference to me.
okay. I don't really care about it. I thought it was a kind of a silly rule that the city had, but yeah,
It's just, I mean, it's for all kinds of things, right? You
Right.
allow, you know, you can't just have a parade in the park without a permit. And so you can't set up structures in the park. I
yeah,
think they really think, you know, people's collecting signatures, but
yeah.
it doesn't apply to that.
So are there any other different considerations or any other sort of cautions with like the North Boulder campus in that space? And just given like just the visibility of this space and being here, right? You see it, you're here, much more visibility there. Not so,
Yeah, so you know, in North Boulder, like in Meadows, I think you also mentioned Meadows, right? So it's the role of private property. So we would not restrict the activity if somebody
Yeah.
set up a table and collected signatures at the Meadows Branch Library on the public thing, we would not restrict them from doing so, but the property owner might. In North Boulder, once the building is actually, we are granted occupancy, which will be sometime after the building is ready to go, then the city will subdivide that property and the plaza will be city property and
right,
the library and its entryway and the parking lot and the playground will be library property. And so where there would be a likely place for people to stop and collect signatures and or have a public demonstration would be on that plaza, which is directly in front of three commercial entities. Well, one's an architect, but it's nevertheless, it's storefront.
Mhm.
I should imagine that they would have a say there and the city's policies would be in play. And I don't know, I think the city doesn't typically stop a public protest of any kind. Where you're likely to get complaints is, all kinds of speech is acceptable, right? We could have somebody set up a table, have large, 3 by 5 foot signs of aborted fetuses and tell people that they need to, that would be allowed, right, within our policy. We would not restrict that activity,
You don't have anything in
but you may get complaints about
inside about the inside of the library. I mean, you don't say it's a place of public,
it. No,
limited public forum or whatever.
what we say is, we state it positively that
Okay, is that what you mean by?
these activities are allowed outside of the building, hence not inside.
Okay, okay.
No, the library itself is not a public forum. We don't allow for just freedom of speech within the building. Come in and start spouting up. We will ask you to. We feel like we're on good grounds just simply with regard to disruption. Now, people may say to us that you're violating my First Amendment right, but we are not considered a public forum. We're a quasi judicial, we're a governmental building as quasi public space. So we don't have to allow anything. We don't want to. We don't really have places inside to post signs. There's Kim. Do you want to weigh in, Kim?
Yeah, I was just gonna say, I was thinking about the same thing Doug was, but then I noted that you referred to the conduct policy,
Yeah.
which I think covers exactly what you were hitting at, Doug. It's a great way to do it, to refer to the library conduct policy, and then it covers everything in the building. I like that.
Yeah.
Noticed in one of the model policies you referred to, they had a specific bullet point about employees' right to participate in First Amendment activities, except not during working hours.
Yeah.
That is not in here. Is that covered in the employee handbook, or you just felt that wasn't worth calling out?
No, it is in the employees handbook and we err. My message to the staff is that our best way to demonstrate that our belief in the First Amendment is to exercise that right. And so I believe we err more fully on the side of allowances on freedom of speech and freedom of expression than I think probably any place that I've ever heard of. You can't wear overtly advertising or overtly political clothing or markings on your hats. That's it. But overtly is the key word there, right? So you'll see library staff in t-shirts. We try to ask them to confine them to literacy related topics, so you can wear whatever. If it's literary based, and there's all kinds of what do you call them, like symbols that people wear that indicate all kinds of things. I don't know half of it, and I just keep it that way. I don't know what it is, and unless I'm getting complaints from the public, I'm not worried about it. People wear safety pins, they wear red pins, they wear all kinds of things, and that's allowed because until there's a complaint. So that's part of the staff's ability to express their identity and their freedom of speech. And if we had complaints about it, then I'd probably ask, like, what's the deal with the red pin? You couldn't wear a Biden hat. You couldn't. That wouldn't be allowed,
Right?
Or a Make America Great hat.
Yeah.
But you could wear an LGBTQ hat.
I don't know. It would just say LGBTQ. People can wear rainbow hats. People wear rainbow pins. People wear a lot of symbols that indicate affinities for certain groups. And I am not privy to all of those different ones. There were a lot that happened through the course of the last decade, and people's like wearing safety pins, red pieces on your pant. There's a whole bunch of things. I have no idea. I'm not inquiring. And until somebody says, like, what's up with this? And we have a policy against it. Our dress code is pretty, it's more hygiene than it is prescriptive for what you would wear. And that's in order to avoid any kind of religious or identity-based discrimination.
There's a bunch of state laws that deal with free speech rights of public employees. And I'd be a little afraid if we mentioned it in here, it would run afoul of, like, there was just recently passed giving public employees more freedom of speech. So I would be a little bit afraid of that here. I think that would probably be better handled in an employee handbook if we,
Our handbook does touch on.
Does touch it, yeah.
Again, pretty loose, and you know, I don't know, we've never had a single complaint about it. We've had complaints about staff members' opinions, but that's not relevant, really. They weren't expressing a political opinion or an anti-political opinion. What other things would you like? Would you like me to put clarification here around the property?
I don't think so.
The only thought I had was maybe it says in addition to abiding by the library rules of conduct, and you could say like, and any applicable city regulations or something like that, or city rules of conduct. I don't know what they're called at the city.
Sorry.
Which paragraph is that?
It's like the last sentence before the bullets.
See, what was your point again? I was like so focused on the dessert.
Oh, it's, I was just, so the last sentence before the bullets, it says, in addition to abiding by the library rules of conduct, the following time, manner, and place and limitations apply to everyone. I was gonna say, if we're concerned about it, we could add after library rules of conduct, we could add something like, and any applicable city rules of conduct or whatever they're called.
Only problem with that is, like, I don't know what the city's gonna,
Yeah,
what they're going
Yeah, I don't
to,
what is it?
when they might change things here and there, and that might conflict. I think this is okay.
I mean, I'm not that worried about it.
Yeah.
And one of the things that I was wondering
That's
about
true
was
too,
just sort of related to the every one word, and then thinking about like who sees this and how you identify. And I wondered about like public, like just, this is like a public facing reference, and wondered about like the public we serve, or, you know, limitations apply to the public we serve, or the public customer, or the public.
And where are you referring to?
I don't know, I just, to the word everyone is what sort of was spinning it for me. Trying to think about, even in the title, like First Amendment protected activities policy for the general public, or for, you know,
Oh, yeah.
you know what I mean? Because so, you know, to counter this isn't an employee policy.
Right,
This
right.
is relating to our,
Yeah, it's the public.
yeah.
What would make you feel more comfortable there?
I don't know. I probably don't have a suggestion, but it's.
You might just say first, just the title could be First Amendment protected public activities.
For
Policy.
For the public, for the general public?
Yeah, activities policy for the general public. Just the title.
Yeah. I'd be comfortable with that. If I was-
And then changing everyone to public.
I think everyone is that. I think once
Is it
you have the
okay?
title,
Yeah,
I think
once
so.
you change the title.
It's not on the screen. So it is, you know, it is part of our basic principles in the ALA Bill of Rights, right? So that's not just freedom of speech, but freedom of the press. Freedom of the press is where it gets a little bit sketchier.
Do you think they're not included in public, or
No, I don't know, Kim, what do you think? Like we were talking about
Yeah.
the right to free speech, where it gets a little sketchier is freedom of the press. And so, you know, the freedom of the press is even more broadly interpreted than speech. And there are lots of protections that are in place in our Constitution that allow for the press to exist in certain ways. We don't advertise them. I don't know that most people are aware of them, but you know, the freedom of the press allows for if somebody were to come in the library and want to sell a broadside in the library, I don't know that we can restrict them from doing so.
Yep.
So long as they're selling it for a nickel,
What's a broadside?
any pamphlet.
Oh,
You
okay.
can't give it away for free. We can ask you to stop. If you sell it for a nickel, you sell it for any price.
Like Jehovah's Witnesses or no?
If they were selling it,
Yeah, I mean, they sell their pamphlets.
I
Yeah,
don't know. Yeah, that would be one that I don't want to be in court on
Yeah.
because I think I think they probably have the right to do it. And that's the way in which freedom of the press is protected in all venues.
but are you saying, making this comment in respect to the?
No.
Oh, okay.
Just so you don't think that you've covered everything by doing this policy.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
This is where the First Amendment auditors come in, Doug, because they'll come into your library and claim to be citizen journalists, and they're filming the library and disrupting, and then as soon as you confront them, they go crazy about their
Right.
First Amendment rights. So it's just a tough thing, and David's right. This won't cover that, but hopefully as those things keep happening, we'll be able to develop something to prevent it. The best advice now is try to ignore them.
Well, I wonder if that's a separate thing, where we
We have
train.
a procedure. Yeah,
Yeah.
we have a procedure for that.
After done it.
Yeah, so the areas should be marked with a staff only sign. We allow them to do whatever and film whatever they want,
Yeah,
so long as they're not in a staff only space. And then they can be asked to leave the library if it becomes disruptive, back to the policies, disruptive of ordinary library activity and people start to complain. Or they take up staff members' time inordinately. That's a disruption of ordinary library activity. And so we would ask them based on nothing to do with the speech, the content of what they say. It's merely a disruption.
Yep.
So that's how we deal with the auditors.
Right, because what is the, and maybe it's not worth getting into right this second, but like, what does the law say about like news gathering at the library?
Yeah.
Like if you're reporting inside the library, that's allowed.
That is allowed.
So like, I don't, this stuff, but this doesn't cover that at all, right? Like one way or another.
No, our general policy does, right? So,
Yeah.
I think somebody asked that question just this last week. One of you did about photography and children. Wasn't this somebody from this group that asked a question about photography? So,
I think Johnny might have had it in one of her comments.
yeah, so Johnny may have asked it. So we cannot, the journalists, the Daily Camera, Boulder Weekly, all of them, they come and they ask permission
Mhm.
to take photographs and we say sure. But we cannot actually restrict any journalist or any person's right to photograph anybody in the public sector. It's like, the only restriction would be, if I understand it right, the only thing that protects your visage, if there is something demonstrable on your face or person that would show, like your social security number. If you had that tattooed across your forehead, it would be illegal for somebody to
Yeah.
capture your visage. Otherwise, there are no protections of your visage anywhere. And that's true of children.
That sounds like a law school exam, David.
I was just gonna say that'd be a hell of
Maybe.
a law school question.
Yeah, we danced around it a million times and I think a lot of libraries interpret it. Yeah, so a lot of libraries do interpret it more restrictive than that. But my understanding of the law and what I've had discussions with previously with lawyers, like there's nothing we can do in terms of the camera stuff.
So where do we want to go with this policy? This evening?
I think, would we want to bring it back? Make the minor change and then bring it back, or do you just want to
We
approve
have-
it? What do you, David? Normally, this is our first time seeing it, so do we normally approve on a first? What do you think?
We're all brand new to this, so you don't normally do anything.
That's right.
The library commission just approved some policies on first reading, other times.
Good evening.
It was
The
true.
library will be closing in 15 minutes.
It's
Please complete your library business and exit the building. Thank you.
Yeah, I'm okay with approving it.
Me too.
With the
Buenas noches.
addition of
La biblioteca se cerrará en 15 minutos.
Yeah,
Por favor, concluya sus actividades en la biblioteca y salga del edificio. Gracias.
no reference to the city and other comments.
No.
Okay, good.
I think,
So
yeah,
if there's a motion,
I'll move to adopt.
I would second. Discussion?
no.
Yeah, okay. Yeah.
All those in favor? Aye.
Thank you very much.
Yay.
Related to policies, I was just thinking about like this one in particular. Maybe computer and interviews. Do we post these in any place?
They're on the web.
No, but I mean, just visually, like near places where people would see.
The only one we post is the 10 or 11 rules of conduct, and they're posted at both entrances. But no, we don't refer to any of the policies.
If someone asked for one, you'd maybe just go to the computer and print one off from the website. Makes sense.
I was thinking about a place where we might, sort of like recently approved policies of the board. And, and sort of have them posted, like,
You always see those like
on the
next,
bulletin board.
next to the bathroom at your work, like, here's the minimum wage.
Right. You're right.
The ocean poster.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you're right. We'll put them with those if we have that anywhere.
Think about that.
Yeah.
Just really adopted policies and particularly, the First Amendment stuff, I just think is really important.
Yeah, that one's brand new. The internet policy,
Yeah.
is the one that has been in existence
Yeah.
more or less and
Yeah.
for years.
Well, this might be like,
That's what you
Something
could when you log on to the Wi-Fi, right?
if you find the right dot.
It's also recognition. I don't think people are aware that we're filtering. The city was as well. The city adopted our filtering policy and it applied to the entire area. And so now that we're not part of the city, but we also have it on the wireless, it's in everything. And we get very few.
You blocked my website once that I created. That's how I remember. But the city did.
Oh, did they?
Yeah. It was just because it was a newly registered domain name. But I couldn't access it from the library.
Would folks consider posting our newly adopted First Amendment protected activities policy for the general public
Sure.
in a public place?
And then that's
Like in the-
up to staff, whether that's doable.
Well, where would we do it, Benita? You could do it on the screens as you enter the building.
Yeah, or just even, just this posted policy, just a posted policy on the,
But where? We
in
don't,
the bulletin board or on the side, just one of those side boards. Don't we post our agenda?
no longer, the agenda's only online. We could post it on the screens. I don't really have another place. The community bulletin board, we could post it there, but that really is a community bulletin board. We could post your stuff there as well. I don't,
That'd be cool. Maybe for a little bit. Just put it on the community bulletin board. If we already have a.
it's entirely up to you. You don't need a motion. You just tell me what you.
Yeah.
What if we had just a little section like, district board, bulletin board or something? There's just a little section that we had, which is, if we posted our agenda or something and just see if people like looked at it, if they,
What do you think, Maria?
noticed.
I'm thinking, I think we have that digital board, but it's too long to have it there. So we can think about it, see where,
The policy?
yeah,
On the digital bulletin boards.
Okay.
it's too long to, for somebody to read it.
Yeah. No, it's just like, just to have a hard copy.
A corner of the community bulletin board. We can look. I mean, it's well used. I don't.
Yeah.
Where is the community?
It's on the corner, it's on the side there.
It's in the.
Oh, really?
You live, yeah, it's
When you see all the bus maps.
Oh, by the bus maps. Okay,
Yeah.
interesting.
it's pretty busy. We clean it up every month, but it's.
I love those things. So I usually go and look them all.
Yeah, but maybe people would look at our stuff there
Yeah.
too. People who don't go to the web or, internet.
The library will be closing in 10 minutes. Please complete your library business and accessibility. Thank you.
Info.
La biblioteca se cerrará en 10 minutos. Por favor, concluya sus actividades en la biblioteca y salga del edificio. Gracias.
Okay.
I'll look into it. I think it's possible. What I can't guarantee is that people aren't going to post that they're selling a goat.
On top of it, that's
I
fine.
mean, we have people put everything on that community bulletin. So I just can't guarantee that. We don't.
No guarantees,
It
no.
is, yeah, it's.
Yeah,
it is intended as public real estate for all kinds of things.
Yeah.
They can do anything that's legal. They can sell and offer any services that are legal on that.
That's why I love them.
If there was a goat sale kind of post there, you should take a picture of it because I would like to see that. I want to buy a goat.
There definitely have been, Sylvia, in the next 3 months.
Yeah, do that. Like, yeah, that's hilarious.
Yes, thank you. So item number 7. Determine schedule and method for evaluation of executive director, library director, evaluation process, governance committee. Sylvia.
Okay, so Johnny reached out to me to ask me if I would just cover a couple of questions. In the packet, we have the director, these are proposed, they're not adopted, and hopefully you will decide they're okay with you. So the first question is, did you look at the assessment form for the director and the annual review page where we asked for the 2 different charts? Are these acceptable to everyone for the assessment? Are we okay with this?
So I had some questions. Yes, so the answer to the question, yes, I did look at these documents. So I didn't understand this one that said like board member name here and then who's filling it out? So is it like board member?
Well, so I don't know if this, I understood it that we would be filling out the chart and that he would be filling out this page, if that makes sense. So this maybe got bumped over perhaps, maybe this was supposed to go over here.
Okay.
I think.
Yeah, I think that the board member actually went with the chart because we would be filling in the chart and then David would fill in the reaccomplishments of everything.
You know, Celia.
I think.
Okay.
I can see what you're
I
saying.
think it's a format.
Okay, yeah, I think it's a formatting thing.
Didn't understand that part. Okay.
Okay, so once we fix the formatting thing, and I'll make
Okay.
a little note to myself here. As a board, are we okay using the chart, the assessment form drafted? Any thoughts?
And so the scale here, 1 to 5.
We do need to, yeah, so it has like.
Like
right
5
there,
highest, right?
Yep, yep,
Of that.
we can make that bolder.
And so did David contribute to the qualities or these knowledge areas? Or did these come from?
I think they came from the governance subcommittee, but I don't remember. David, did you weigh in on these at all?
These are all things that are touched on in the job description.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And we took them from, that kind of says where we got them on the second page, from the Getting on Board video training series.
Yeah, from Pennsylvania office. I just wondered if there was, just to look at any of it fitting with us in Boulder.
I think,
Yep.
sorry, Vinny.
Go ahead.
Okay, yeah, I see this on here.
Mm-hmm.
So I guess I'm okay with us if, we can fill this out, candidly, part, and, just because where we think, like your rose and your bud and your thorn, right? Like where you can be.
We could
improving.
recategorize them as
No.
such if you wish.
No, I'm just saying, but I do think and we didn't really get in. I mean, we've done a lot this year,
Mhm.
and I think that just 3 things you would like. The Boulder Public Library to achieve in 2020. I think that you could expand that, and we could say what are your KPIs?
Oh,
know,
no.
Something like that.
no, no.
Sorry, but what is what of our maybe as a board, maybe we say prioritize
By,
these things.
please complete your library business and
Yeah.
accessibility.
Do that. I mean, these are just like,
Right.
the starting point, so we can make these however you wish.
La biblioteca se cerrará en 5 minutos. Por favor, concluya sus actividades en la biblioteca y salga del edificio. Gracias.
I think that as a board and we're coming up on a quick time frame, for this year, but
Right.
we want to think about this a little bit more hey, what are the goals, that David thinks is important and we as a board think is important, and then put those down and how do we achieve to see if he's achieved those in the year. Maybe they're not annual goal, maybe it's like a 3-year goal or something. But that's kind of what I was thinking, because if we don't grade people on it, they're not going, they may not
Yeah.
do it, you know what I
Yeah,
mean? So,
specifically, I mean, even just thinking about like the ballot measures, like, what
Right.
role did David play in, in that? Like,
well, we,
those are like specific things.
yeah, we have some key things like getting open the gun barrel branch and opening the Nobo, I mean, and those kind of things, I think, we could look back and staffing, yeah.
But, okay, so
Restoring
are you
out.
suggesting that because as I read it, it's like we're asking David to say what he's proud of last year and then what he wants to do this year. Are you saying that we would add something where we say what we want?
Well, I think there's a retrospect
Sure.
piece, like, hey, you did a great job. And then, you're evaluated on the things you did last year. And then, then there's kind of setting us up for next year's evaluation.
yeah,
Here are
yeah.
the things that your goals for this year.
So you want like us to also do this, basically, is what you're saying? Because the way it's structured now, it's like we would fill out the chart, David would fill out these 3 questions. You're saying that we would also fill out the 3 questions, but like from our perspective.
Yeah, from our perspective, we might, yeah, we could. I think that's actually probably a good idea. I don't want you, that wasn't my idea, but it's a good idea.
But I'm just asking if that's what you're saying.
I think so, yeah.
So are we saying that like for next year, we would have these particular items, but we identify what those items are now, and then next year we add that to the evaluation process? Is that?
Yeah, well, I'd say like we, as a board, create that list of performance items that we think, besides this normal stuff, this is all great.
Yeah.
But we should
Pretty
say,
general.
like, specifically, we want you to do this. I mean, and, we're gonna be looking at that in 2025 when we
Yeah.
reevaluate you.
I think that sounds good.
I mean, it's kind of like everybody does in like their performance. I have to do this for my work too, so
Yeah, but,
Right.
I don't know if that.
That's all fine. Sorry, I don't want to interrupt anybody.
Yeah, no, keep going.
And I would love to get Jen Yee's input on this. For me, I tried to use evaluations as to drive professional growth. We have a late career professional, maybe that's less applicable, but that was always how I approached it, not as a report card. Although, I think measurable, ROI and the KPI or whatever is fine. And then I always really appreciated as a manager a 360, so I could hear not just from my board, but from my team and everybody, how I was doing, so those are a couple of things that may be missing for me from this, but what would you like to see in the?
I welcome whatever you guys come up with. I'm fine with it. I mean, I literally, when I saw this thing, I finished it in 15 words, like all 6 bullets. And I mean, I could have made it 22, but it's what you guys want, right? Like, what do you want to see in terms of the performance review piece? And I'm fine if you want to attach it to KPIs, if you want to attach it to metrics, I can do all that stuff. I just don't know what you want.
Well, not that helpful.
The 360 would be good too. I do have regular feedback from a lot of the staff
Okay.
members, and they tell me when I'm messing up. Like if I have those people as well, it's great. Like I don't feel like I have a shortage of information from my staff, but we are looking at revamping our performance review process in the course of this year, which we will implement in 2025. And the programs, at least that I've looked at, are more what you're talking about. It's more of less an evaluative piece than a feedback kind of loop that you're building in for regular feedback.
So I'm in favor of that, and if you model that for the rest of the team, that makes sense to me. But that's more complicated.
Library is now
We've been talking about.
Thank you for joining us today.
And I
Look
just
forward to
think,
seeing you again.
we lived through a transition year, right, in this time. And so, we need to get
Atención, la biblioteca está
a
cerrada.
system in place.
Gracias por acompañarnos hoy y esperamos verlos nuevamente.
Like, I'm not a fan of like just taking something from some other place, right? So I'm like not big on that, but I think it's also just hard to evaluate, David, on these things that you don't see or observe on any regular basis. Like that is not what we see from our side in any way to like fairly evaluate him in this way, or, and, quite frankly, don't know, what percentage of time he spends on these things. And in this transition year, it was like an awkward pie chart of where he was spending his time, right? And what he was doing. And, that some things were unimaginable, right? Like, he never thought he was going to spend so much time doing X, Y, or Z. And so I think in a normal world, maybe this stuff might work for some folks or whatever, but I just think like it doesn't necessarily fit for where we've seen him as sort of his new, board of directors in this transition year. And so that I just think it could create just some inequity or just some false sense of evaluation by sort of rating somebody on some things that we really didn't see in a transition year, or things that were skewed by just the environment that we were in. So I just, that assessment form just seems really awkward to me.
And I would suggest that, there is a comment section. And so perhaps what we could do is not just, if there's something in particular we want to emphasize, like, whatever form we end up using, I would suggest that maybe if there's something in particular we want to get across to David, that we make some particular comments about that. Because I think that's very direct and specific.
So, just kind of, I understand that. So we fill out these forms, what was the process then for evaluating, or is that the next step?
That's the next step
Okay.
that's the next
We can
question
go-
I
can
have
we-
for you. So the first thing was to just agree what format we were going to use just to do the evaluation. And then we were going to get into the process
Okay,
questions next.
I'm okay. I think for this year, if we all, I actually think it would be valuable, to hear from you guys what you think what you're most proud of or whatever for his 3 of this year, and then what you think he should do. I would,
Yeah,
I think we could fill all of this out, give it to the committee or whatever. And, I don't know, what do you think? No?
I just don't, I don't know. I just think that's a very complicated process, like for 7 people
Right.
to be doing.
Well, what would you think then?
For all of us to be doing, there could be just 7 different, and different views of that. It can be very confusing for one person to be like,
Okay, yeah, I get that.
having to respond to that.
I get that. No, I understand. I would think that my thought was that you'd give it to like the review committee, whatever committee we create and they would distill it down into something they would give to Dave.
That's exactly what
Not necessarily here's the form.
Right.
It would be more like, what's the feedback? What's your Benita feedback? What's your Kara's feedback? What's your Sam? And then distill it into like hey,
Here were the top.
here was what
Here
here was what kind of people thought were good. It could be 5. They could take it
Yeah.
all. They could say,
Yeah.
here's really what the board individually wants you to work on. I don't know what it and like in this
that matches up to what I sort of
and this
expected.
thing was like accounting. I could probably write
I'm
4
taking-
paragraphs
And I'm
on
actually
that.
laying
You
that
know?
out. I'm taking accounting out.
Okay, sorry.
Sorry, we're not gonna rate you on accounting.
Well,
Let's say I was gonna do low there, but
Yeah. I'm already making a call that we're removing that one because I don't even know. And
so what do you? Would that be a little bit more helpful to you, or do you think?
Yeah,
little specific. And that's where the comments I think would also be helpful if, like.
And I think we might, what do you guys think about giving this to some, you can tell me this is a stupid idea, but like Jennifer, and if you want like the 360 thing, some other staff, I don't know.
Yeah,
I
I
mean,
think
I
that
do,
has to be
but-
very
but-
structured and controlled. We can't
Yeah.
Just like randomly.
No, I understand that,
you
yeah.
know.
That's why I asked, yeah.
It might be if your HR team is revamping the evaluation process, and it will include things like a 360, and its goal is to drive professional growth rather than be a B plus, C minus. If that comes online this year, we could adapt it or I won't be here, but the Board of Trustees could adapt it for next year in your review. Something like that.
That makes sense, yeah.
You know, if we feel like we're on a compressed timeline this year and, you know, we can just go with a version of this and summarize, not like I have to respond to 7 different individual
Right.
pieces of feedback.
Right.
Yeah, I can live with that.
Okay, so am I misunderstanding? Are we for this year, we're using this form even though it is problematic in some ways? Are we okay with the form?
I would adjust the ratings to maybe, observed, not observed,
Okay,
and then comments or something. Like if it's something you engaged in with them, and you have some observation of it, but if you didn't observe it or you didn't.
I think the rating doesn't make sense.
so
Yeah,
we would take out the 1 through 5 and we would just have observed, not observed, and then comments.
Yeah.
yeah.
Okay, that's fine. Are we okay with that?
I think that's fine.
Okay. Okay, so that resolves that first question I had. And so the next ones I had were, how soon could each of the board members complete this form for David after it's updated? Because I'm gonna make those changes. How soon, how much time do you think you would need?
When do we need to approve this contract then?
Well, it's good till June, but we'd kind of like to
Why
get,
don't we do it by,
I was gonna propose the middle of April.
oh, I didn't say
Oh.
like April 2nd or something. Yeah.
Like-
I'd say,
Whatever
April is
anyone
plenty
thinks.
of time.
Yeah, I
What's
don't, I don't need to change.
Okay, so should we just say
April 5th,
April 5th?
that's Friday.
Okay, that's a very random thing to know right off the top of your head, but okay.
That week is very planned for me.
Okay.
A lot of-
Okay, great.
So,
Okay, so the next thing is, and Sam, you were kind of getting to this, which is just good. Is so once these are filled in, where do they go and who will be compiling and then meeting with David? And my thought was, it seemed like the staff, like because of your expertise on the staffing committee, like you and Jen seem to have.
Is Jen still available, right, till her term?
I think she, yep. I
Yeah,
think
yeah,
she-
I think the personnel committee, that.
Okay, yeah, to me, that makes sense just because you even actually sort of put it out there when you mentioned it earlier. Okay. So then the staffing committee can look at that.
look
Great.
at, they're gonna,
So,
what's the staffing committee again?
They're going to receive these and
Okay.
then they're going to compile them and then they will meet with David.
Okay,
so,
Accounting skill.
and this form changes too, right? You're,
Yes, I'll
Okay.
fix the boo-boo on there. Yes.
but you're saying this form changes and we're filling it out.
I thought we said we weren't filling this one out.
I thought you were, you
I-
didn't want to
You
fill it.
you didn't want us
No, no,
to.
no. he-
I,
This idea of like,
I'm okay with, I think it would be good, but if we
No,
fill
if-
it out, but just to give feedback to, the personnel committee to give, if they wanted to compile it and see if it I mean, I don't know.
There-
This is really for David.
I mean, there are almost certainly going to be themes, so I think if we all fill out
Okay,
these boxes as well,
Oh,
then like
okay.
Sam and Jen,
And
it'll
so
take
it
them
would
5
be-
minutes to see that there are like 3 things that we all mentioned. in
Okay,
both boxes, and
I think it's more important for the things for 24, 25
yeah,
than it's,
sure.
than it is for,
Yeah. That's what would be really helpful.
so,
Yeah.
so 3 goals instead of 3 things, maybe?
yeah, for us, it might be goals.
yeah, like what do we want to see from David and library staff in 2024, 25?
I'm sure that's a line, but like,
Okay, so every board member will fill out both documents.
Yes, and we'll make sure that, and the second page for us will be amended though, because it'll just be 3 goals for the library director, right?
yes.
Okay, okay.
So we give this to did they just give him his performance thing and that's it? We don't have to do anything more as a board?
Well, I mean, we're deciding that now, like, I mean.
Well, I just didn't know.
It's,
Yeah.
it's
Oh, I guess
however
we
we
don't know.
want to shape
Oh,
it,
okay.
like, yeah, no, I mean, that's why we're having the conversation. now,
Okay,
is 'cause,
okay.
I mean, we don't have, we've not done this before, so.
Yeah, right.
We get to design how it's going to work.
Yeah.
Yeah, so we were sort of anticipating that, an assessment would be done, it would be reviewed with him, and then, obviously, then the contract piece would be
Okay.
done. And then I think we'd also have to have a conversation about the salary at some point as well.
But we need to do this by the end of April or something.
Well, if we,
What's required? It's a contract in June.
yeah, the contracts, yeah.
Oh,
So
okay.
we have a little.
I was like thinking we had to get this done by like April.
Well,
No,
if,
good
but if we
point.
got the, if
30.
we got the review done quickly, then that would give the committee a little time to process it.
Yeah.
and Visit with him.
Okay.
But is there a contract that is? This is it?
It is, but there will be changes to it.
No, I know,
Um,
but no, but this is it. So this,
that
so there was
last
never a
year's.
contract that was signed that actually had the salary by a dollar amount listed in it?
I think
was what-
it was in
did.
it was in it was in the addendum, I think.
It just only said,
schedule. Yeah, it's a schedule.
yeah,
That's right.
but I mean, so is there something that has a number?
There was.
There was.
I think it was
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
or something.
Yeah.
There
But-
is-
but-
There is, Benita. I think we just slipped that one into this packet so that you would have
Okay.
a copy of the body of
Okay.
it, which is
And-
now 80% of it is irrelevant, so
Right.
because of the
right.
transition.
And then just keep in mind that in the copy that we have, Schedule A and Schedule B are being removed, because Schedule A was the city library director job description.
Right.
And so, yeah, so those would be removed. And then the changes regarding like IGA and all of that are also in Kim's notes. Those changes have been made and updated.
And so the job description also needs to be updated.
We haven't talked about that, but we don't actually have a job description at this point if we're not using that one. Right.
Well, we need a job description for the district library director.
Correct.
Yes.
But right now,
I-
we're just talking about the evaluation. So are we gonna talk about the contract for?
We did not plan on getting into the contract
Okay.
today, although, Johnny had shared her comments with Kim and Kim had already talked about making those
Okay.
changes. I think there was a fair amount of the job description. I think we consider that it was in section 3B, which is the duties. Because that section kind of describes all of the different things we wanted him to do. So I guess we would need to determine, is that sufficient, or would we want to develop a full-on job description?
I think you need, because I think a lot of this relates to the transition.
My recommendation would be, we don't have a lot to talk about on the second. Maybe we talk about the contract on the second. And since we've established the
Yeah.
evaluation process,
That's good.
and that just, because I thought you were giving us the contract for the purposes of determining the evaluation, so that's why.
No, we're just looking at the assessment. At
The assessment, yeah, that's what I mean. So, yeah,
Okay.
Yes.
So I think we're good then in all of the questions regarding the evaluation and the plan for the steps that will be taken. And Johnny and I can update the forms and we'll send them out, and we've agreed that we would all turn them in by April 5th to Jen and Sam.
Okay, and you're gonna resend the forms. right?
Yeah, we'll need to
Remind
update,
us of
yeah,
that.
yeah.
Jen, that-
Yeah.
Jen's been.
Yeah.
Volunteer.
Volunteer.
Yeah, I'll write her an email. I'll
And then-
see all of you.
And then the April 2nd meeting, that special meeting that we need to approve, is to discuss the job description
We're gonna
and
As part of the
contract.
contract.
will we discuss compensation then, or,
Well, I think a part of that, but I mean, these other next pieces need to follow.
yeah. That's fine with me. Johnny said that was a light meeting already. And
Well,
so.
Okay.
I'll need to tell her.
You
Somebody,
can,
Well,
you can do that.
I'll
You-
let her know.
You can do that.
yeah. All right, so the process is, we'll get these forms from you.
Yes,
We'll fill them out and give them to Jen and Sam,
by April 5th.
and then they'll
Right.
crunch them together and then give the evaluation to
Absolutely.
David.
Thanks,
Okay.
Sam, for volunteering for that.
Yeah.
Yes, thank you,
Thank you.
Sam.
Yep, great. Think we're good.
Uh, Director updates.
Yeah, so the reports there, I mean, some of the bigger things. We had a delay with Excel that lasted several weeks, and that was,
You've changed the spelling of that monopoly's name.
oh, did I? That was probably autocorrect.
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't really understand it. Okay.
So, right. But we're back up. I think we'll be here on time. The hitch is the playground, right? So the playground is not gonna be done on time. And I just want you all to know that before we get there. And there will be some elements of the playground that are completed. Building is completed, but we had to move on from Francis Pittman, who has been our contractor for the thing for reasons of timing and cost. And, you know, they have a fee. They also have a deadline fee, right? So they're approaching the deadline fee for completion, and any days beyond that is like, there's a fee of $10,000 a day. So it's like, we're not interested in that. And so we're not going to get the playground done in time. We are meeting on this week. We've met with the architect and meeting with her again on Friday to go over the plan and see if she will select from the list of government approved contractors list that we have. So if there's a firm that she's willing to work with there and would like to work with, then we could probably get it done in the next few months. If there is not, and she's not familiar with those and she wants to, you know, then we'll go out to bid. So at that point, we would have to go out to bid and solicit at least 3 bids. And she knows that would be a delay in the time of probably at least a month or 2 just to getting the process done. Interviewing the companies to do the contract construction. And certainly that's an option, right? I don't want to say that I know from the city that there are a number of government approved contractors that are more than capable of doing this job and would be suitable, but we'll see what the architect wants to do, the landscape architect.
This is just for the playground, the contract.
Just for the playground. Yes, the playground, if you remember, Foundation had applied for it in conjunction with us. We got a $700,000 grant from the Colorado Health Foundation. The condition of that grant was the Colorado Health Foundation picked the architect. So they selected their own architecture firm. I think it's called Urban Play Studio. And they've been great to work with. The project at this point, though, did not reach a final enough stage in order to go to construction while Francis Pittman was on site. And so now we've moved on. We've informed Francis Pittman that they're done. We're going to pursue either another contractor or, and the project could be delayed by, you know, as much as a year, if it's possible. Yeah.
Have we ordered any of the equipment or no, or waiting till we hire a contractor to do that? Or-
Yeah, the equipment has been selected. We've narrowed the last
Okay.
big budget. Some portions of the grant have been completed, like, but those by Francis and Pittman. So it's not the entirety of that grant that will be expended on this.
Yeah. Okay.
So there's some areas of the planters and stuff like that for the native plantings that we're going to go in the plaza area. Those are done. Yeah, so what we'll see from Francis and Pittman is the slide. That was always attached to the building. And some elements for the outdoor makerspace, at least, you know, portioning it off with barriers. And hopefully the grading. So the grading for the drainage from both the outdoor makerspace and from the playground into the portions. Then after that, we'll have to construct. We think the permitting is still good. I'm checking on that now. So the permit that we have for the building and the playground was always just there's a term for it, minor amendment or something like that to the overall project. So it was approved by the planning board, and so I think it's permitted to go forward. We'll see.
And Franzen continues to be the contractor for the building.
Yeah, Francis and Pittman will finish the building. But yeah, they'll be done soon. We don't know yet because we just got started back on with power this week. Maybe today. And so they'll begin doing the floors and that kind of stuff, all the things that they needed light and power for. But yeah, the building's looking great. If you haven't been up there recently,
It looks fabulous from the
Yeah.
outside.
collection development, that's a big one, right? So they've begun to make, you know, significant inroads into the digital collection to reduce wait times. That furniture expenditure that you showed in the budget, that was for the main library space reconfiguration. So if you remember, this is something we asked for back in November when we were putting together the budget. We put $500,000 to reconfigure the space in order to accommodate all the new teams, facilities, HR, finance, communications, all these different groups that are starting, 30 some odd employees. Good news is that, the first phase of the project is well underway. The order has been placed. We expect that work will be completed in April. And we're pretty far under budget. So we'll move on to the pricing of the second phase of the project, mostly of which will concentrate on this building and in amenities for staff. So a nursing space, a break kind of kitchen area, not a kitchen, but a refrigerator and that kind of stuff. And so I think we'll probably be able to work those in out of the project. There are other phases that we were looking at, and we'll probably get those priced out, but I don't think they'll be feasible. They won't be feasible under the $500,000 budget that you approved. If we decide to do them in this year, we bring back an amendment to the budget.
So I was curious about that. So do you think did something change in the plans that made it come in so far under budget?
We didn't do anything structural. Yeah, so we were able to figure out how to do it without actually tearing down any walls or building it, which is pretty remarkable because I thought.
Yeah.
For sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, so where the cost really kicked in is like, as soon as you change one HVAC unit, you've got a mechanical engineer on site and that's 20 grand. It's just like, just to be here, right? And so there are costs associated with it that we anticipated, but mostly the entirety of the project is furniture related. There are some walls, but they're mobile walls. And so walls will be going up, I think, in 3 separate areas to portion off space for work groups. But yeah, they're mobile walls and considered a furniture.
Can I go back one just to the class? Is there any, are we tracking like this means X number of more books? Like before you had 5, now you have 12 copies or anything like that? Like, it'd be a nice thing to show like on our annual report that it's easy to say we increased our budget by 65% or whatever, but does that mean, how does that translate to, additional periodical collections or something like that? It'd be nice to track that data for our annual report.
Yeah, you mean beyond
But not beyond,
out, right? So
Is it-
like, what we don't care about
Downloadable.
owning books, we care about books being used.
Yes.
We track it through usage data, right? So if our circulation numbers go up as a result of this, that would be the sign that you have. What we own, we have a various times done calculations of what the number of volumes that we own, either in digital or in print, but it seems irrelevant. Like I would prefer that every one of the books here were in somebody's home.
yeah, but the comment here by this lady is like, oh, I was able to get a book for download.
Yeah, that's unusual for.
I just checked something. I just renewed something on Hoopla and that would have never happened a year ago. Like,
So like,
at 7:23.
and so maybe we can track how much more uses of the digital stuff that we're
Yeah,
getting.
we will. We
Yeah.
we will see a rise in those numbers.
So, yeah, let's keep track of that so we can put it in
But, yeah,
our thing.
Yeah, no, I like that.
I was just remembering the slide deck that you shared at our retreat, right? Just related to
The materials.
books and,
Yep.
materials and.
Oh, yeah, you use that
Yeah,
stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah, and,
Yeah, so had we had this money last year
right.
for the collection, we would
Yeah.
have seen a significant increase. I mean, digital media would have at some point in 2 or 3 years ago passed print materials, I think. They would have corrected by now, but what you saw in that data was that they went very close in
Right.
2021, and then they've begun to diverge. But it's a matter of all numbers coming back up. So our circ numbers are where they were in 2019 now. It is reasonable to assume that by putting an extra $600,000 into the collection, you are going to see a corresponding increase. If we're buying the right stuff,
Yeah, that's what I,
then you might see a bigger increase.
right, that's the key thing. Yeah, so it'd be
How many books were checked out, I think is the number that we want.
definitely interesting I guess you do track that, so
We do, yeah.
we do our like annual report and
Yeah,
so.
We track everything. We track wait lists. And so the wait list, that's less relevant in Hoopla because it's a certain amount of money, which we apportion out daily. Then once we've expired that amount, so once enough users go in, we exhaust the money. So that used to happen between midnight and 1 a.m. Money was exhausted every day. And now it's lasting till 4 p.m. So that's significantly greater window. But as soon as people get wind of it,
Right.
I'm guessing that number will contract back to noon, and then we have to build back up to get it back. I'm telling you.
I mean, 7:23 PM,
I'm
that's
telling you.
awesome.
Yeah,
Very smart.
That's your library trustees.
Yeah.
We have a special code or something. So continuing on.
Yeah, bunch of it's going to Columbus, Ohio. I'll be gone the next 2 weeks. I'll be in Columbus for 1 week and 1 week of a vacation, family vacation. But yeah, it's the Public Library Association Conference. It's a great conference. We're seeing a lot of new staff members, beginning staff members. I mean, some of the people who just started early in January were sending to the conference. It's a great opportunity to network with other libraries. We're going to be using it as a recruitment opportunity. And we were also, you know, weird, like staff were asking about, like, it's one, right? So they were saying, like, who are we in competition with? I'm like, there's nobody we're in competition with. We are the library in the country who got selected to do the lounge. And so there's one lounge. It's huge. The staff, you know, hand painted and built it up. I promised to bring back photographs. I think it'll be pretty amazing, and we'll use it as a unofficially for a recruiting tool as well. So. And then
Is it expensive?
well, the cost of the conference. So we got 10 people comped for free based on doing the lounge, and so they got everything, the conference and these. But the typical cost for a person to travel is like $2,000, I think, probably for the
I think
the
that
flight and hotel is my assumption. It's around $2,000, 2,500. You know, some staff are members of the library association, so your costs are cheaper. We tried to get early bird for people, but that wasn't possible for everybody. But yeah, I think it's what,
it was
22,000.
like 16, I think, on that line item.
Yeah, it's about $2,000.
15,167.
So the number is probably lower based on the fact that we also do per diem, right? So people get money for dinners, and
Mhm.
breakfast, and lunch.
How cool.
It's a big deal. And then we are nailing down a firm, Boulder firm, for our marketing campaign, and I hope to have something back from you guys by late April to see a draft of, like, you know, the framing of it around all the different things that are coming. But you know, we did. It was interesting interviewing all the firms. Maria can jump in any time. Like, some of them were very clearly like, it's a big idea and we can pitch it and like change everybody's minds. And others were more tactical and I think more hyper aware of the local environment. And we are moving in that direction around practices that we think we aren't just buying a big bill of goods will be done within 4 months. So we're trying to build a relationship with a marketing firm that we could hopefully use for, you know, both for, you know, public information, community relations, building relationships through the media, a lot of the things that I think we will need to do over the course of the next couple of years. And at the same time, also to have an advertising campaign around all the stuff that the library district is doing this coming year. It was fun.
It's good.
Yeah, it was fun.
Can I just ask, I'm just sensitive to the word campaign, just in this environment, and just wondering if we might consider something else.
Yeah,
The strategy or a marketing plan or.
Yeah, we, you know,
Something, but I just think it could raise some red flags with folks and position us in a negative way.
I like strategy.
yeah, and I think we went, like David mentioned, we went more for a tactical approach because some of the agencies wanted to, you know, create an umbrella, a brand promise, and, you know, like something, and we didn't feel that was the right approach. So we went a little bit more, you know, tactical, more target, you know, so it's not going to be like a big splash that everybody's like, oh my gosh, you know, that's what the library is doing now. But it's going to be really well positioned and where it should be. So I think it's going to be good. We're excited about it. So the campaign is just a name. It's more like, you know, it's very diversified and in places where it should be.
And my understanding was we were talking about, it's like a strategic plan around
Yes.
communications and outreach and not,
Yeah.
it's not.
I mean, it's
campaign.
we're, you know, the plan, we will have metrics in that we're looking at for how we can increase impressions. We'll be able to, you know, determine what things, but the hope is that we will be able to determine where spending our advertising dollars is useful and where it's not. And it's really, we wanted something that was not simply the big campaign and here's all the stuff that the district is doing. But we wanted to integrate it better into the library without going into anything that would be offensive politically. If for people who felt bad about the election or something like that, so we have something along those lines. How can we get earned media placement in some of the print journals? How can we see if utilizing social media in certain ways gets us a certain amount? So that's really our objective. And building enthusiasm, obviously, around Novo's the big thing. And so that is the part where we're really trying to capture attention. And I feel like I said to Maria, and I said to every single one, if we can't get people's attention when we open Novo, then we probably cannot never get their attention. So we will put an effort into it. But really, it's all the stuff that follows, right? It's Carnegie, it's Gun Barrel, it's the programs, it's JLF, it's all the elements. It's each program ultimately will see the benefit of having garnered some attention around this marketing strategy. And those things that don't work, we'll stop investing in. Yeah. Because honestly, you just don't know right now, but we don't have any idea whether coverage in the daily.
I used to say, I know I'm wasting half of my marketing budget. I just don't know which half. So,
Well, you said you're
Only
only,
KG&U, only.
no, this is the other nonprofit.
and you said you're only talking to local firms?
Yeah, we spoke with five. We solicited bids from 6.
Yes,
One-
correct,
One
yeah.
never reached back since we spoke with 5. Maria and I met with 5. Yeah, it's good.
This isn't about the, like, you don't have the cafe
Yes.
hours on here yet.
Well, the hours aren't on there yet. So the cafe is happening. We did have,
I was there.
Doug came.
Did we open?
Were we open?
Yeah, I had tea. You served me tea.
So yeah, last week we soft opened on Tuesday. We gave away free coffee and tea. It was a remarkable success. The bridge was packed and people of all kinds were at all tables, and it was awesome. Then I had the colossally dumb idea to do it on Friday when I thought like school's out and all these families and kids were going to be in the library, and it didn't really work. We did offer free coffee. It was one demographic, and it became, it's very, we want to offer reasonably priced stuff.
Sure.
But it's interesting, reasonably priced stuff where people, especially if it's free. It just seems like everybody wanted a 3-shot oat milk.
Chocolate, one
Chocolate,
cream.
sprinkles.
Yeah.
And it's
And
just-
those things were like this big.
ridiculous. So we did test the barista that day, that's for sure, but, and our patients, but, yeah, Friday was a failure. Today we opened
I
again.
guess the library was open Friday, right?
Yeah, we were. It was
It
packed.
wasn't open on Thursday.
Yeah. And then we opened again today briefly for a few hours, and we sold some coffee and we gave away coffee to staff.
So you get the point of sale open now?
No, it didn't work.
Didn't work.
Yeah. The point of sale system had a sensor bad. So
Oh,
we have to set it back. And
oh,
so,
darn it.
we do have something that works, and we got it working with just an old, reader. Time did something, and cash transactions, we're just doing them by hand. So
The barista is Tyler. And when's the other one starting?
the other one starts on Monday.
Okay.
Next Monday. So we will, but in the coming few weeks, we'll have 6 days where we're open, Tuesday through Sunday, at various hours. So Tuesdays is Tuesday through Friday, it'll be like 9 to 1 or 2. And then on Saturdays, till 2 or 3, and on Sundays, 12 to 5. Yeah, but yeah, very well received, I think. But we're not having a grand opening. We're not even really we didn't put it on social media on Friday. That was the mistake I made. I thought it's closed, the school's closed, we're gonna get all these people. And so we put a thing on social media that said like, we're open, come get a free cup of coffee. And yes, they did.
Are they employees of the library? They are, okay.
So if you remember, we agreed to subsidize the FA. The expectation is that,
So there's an employee classification,
yeah.
a barista.
We have 2 of them.
Are they gonna work both the same time? Or
There's overlap.
a little overlap,
There is overlap.
maybe on the week, not on the weekends, but
Yeah, so we are, I mean, this is premature, but I'll be, next month, you'll hear about it. We are, working, we did interview food vendors as well.
Yeah.
So we will have food vendors in the space, probably within a month. We're working on the contract now. Those will not be employees of the library, but rather contract. And so it's a contract, for, the people who we're narrowed it down to are a couple of caterers in the area that will do food on several days a week. So each will do a couple of days and be compensated for their, it's like a caterer, like their time, and then also have the ability to sell food products that we agreed to that they can make a profit on. And that's one of the parts that we have to find out, is the amount of profit that they make.
I appreciate it. I sit in there and work a lot. There's one person that yells at me a lot to be quiet. If I'm on a phone call, but hopefully that person will now move to another silenter part of the library. And I can work more loudly in there. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a great workspace. I mean, it does fill up today. If you saw, I mean, I don't know, when I walked over here at 5:30, it was all teenagers.
Yeah, me too. Yeah.
It's usually what I see there.
Yeah.
In the afternoon.
Okay.
Sorry.
Anything else?
Oh, but if you're in the library on Thursday or Friday this week in the morning, tell them bring your name card, you should get a free cup of coffee.
Okay,
Yeah, or tea, whatever you want.
lovely, thank you. So special meetings, I just want to move on to our other items here. I do not want to go beyond 8 o'clock, because then I'd really be in trouble. So let's see, so April 2nd and the 30th as special meetings. And I guess I just want to ask then, do we have a regular meeting then
It's
on
on
the
the
16th?
16th, yes.
Yes, okay,
Yes.
okay, so do I have a motion then to accept 2 special meetings to be set for the 2nd and the 30th?
Yeah, so moved.
Okay. Everybody okay with that in a second? Okay, that's set. And then there was an informational item related to communication from Johnny related to the letter that was there.
Yeah.
And then legal counsel updates.
Let me.
And then trustee matters. I was gonna
Oh, yeah.
do that.
Yeah. Let's,
Can I do legal? Okay. Well, let me just do legal.
Go ahead,
counsel,
legal
since-
counsel.
Since you're right there on the
Yeah.
screen,
Okay.
looking golden or something. red or-
Yeah, the lighting in here is not
now- Oh,
normal.
now
And-
you're, okay, there you are.
That's strange. But anyway, you have the status report. There's 2 items on there that have been lingering at the bottom of the status report. Some of those cleanup items. One is the adoption of a document retention policy, and the other is a data destruction policy. Both of these are required by statute. The first one, the data retention policy, we like to use the Colorado State Archives manual because it gives you immunity from lawsuits, as long as you've adopted that manual. We'll get that manual over to Celia if you approve this. It's very long, but like 2 pages of it apply. The other thing I want to point out, it says on that resolution special district manual, I always try to remind you whenever I can, you are not a special district, but everyone confuses that. So this manual does apply to you. It's a good resource, and the safe harbor is the most important part. The second resolution has to do with personally identifying information in electronic data, and the statute requires you to have a policy. It doesn't tell you what the policy has to be, but a policy that when you destroy that data, it's permanently destroyed. So we have attached Appendix A that we use in other districts for that policy. Both of these resolutions go to the state and are lodged with the state to provide you those immunity benefits. So they're before you to do whatever you'd like to do with.
Would we amend the first resolution to take out the word special everywhere? Because it's in a couple of places.
No, because the manual is called the Special District
Okay.
Manual.
Okay, all right. I guess I move that we adopt the Special Districts Record Management Manual of the Colorado State Archives.
Your second?
Should we discuss, is anybody, any discussion?
Well, we need to.
Oh, second, I'll second, yeah.
And then,
Yeah.
and I'll call. I will
Oh,
call
oh, yeah,
for
yeah.
discussion.
Sorry.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, discussion?
No,
What would you like to discuss? Steph?
nothing, I just didn't know.
Right.
Didn't want to go through the whole.
So both of these resolutions are or both of these policies are based on
Mhm.
existing policies, basically. Yeah.
So can I just ask a question related to, I guess it's exhibit A that comes to mind related to destroying paper and documents. So if we are holding those documents at home, let's say in our personal offices, right?
Yes.
Are we to bring them here for disposition, destruction
Yes.
of property, as opposed to turning them, I mean, recycling, sending them to the recycling bin?
Yeah, the fact that you have them at home does not change the character that those are public records.
Right. So I
So-
just want to make that clear to us.
Yep. Good,
Yeah.
good thinking, Benita. That's important.
So we should really have a protocol, I would think, related to that.
Yeah.
In a bin or box where we're, bringing in those documents for disposition. Disposing, is that disposition? Disposing.
Disposition.
Yeah,
Either way.
But if it's like this, where it's a digital.
This doesn't have,
copy-
well, this doesn't have PII probably.
Okay, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
But we might, in the
Well-
course of our duties, come across PII.
Right, and
Yeah.
help me understand, like, when would that happen? What documents would we have where we'd have PI? Personal.
It's gonna be rare, but it's gonna
It
be
could be.
mostly personnel type stuff.
Oh, okay.
Contracts.
Cause it can become PII when you like combine
Right.
two things. So
Yeah,
just
yeah.
like the name of an employee by itself isn't necessarily PII, but then you combine it with something else and it becomes. So
Right.
it doesn't have to be like hypersensitive data to be considered PII.
Okay. Okay.
It's not gonna be common that we're gonna have it.
right.
Yeah, in our roles. It would be more.
Would
common,
somebody would notify us of that?
Probably the more likely scenario would be you download something that you're working on from Office into your personal computer, you work on it there, and then you resend it. That would be you'd probably want to separate within like a folder or something where you're working at home. That's probably the more likely scenario. Like I doubt, David's gonna give us a packet with stuff that's not digital. That would be my
I
understanding.
guess, but does the library staff have have something that they do with is there like a box for shredding or?
We do have shredders now, but
Mhm.
we're getting a service that we're gonna put in
Okay.
this year.
So is there like a place that material goes within like the
It's in the
staff?
basement though, which is not gonna be good for you, but
But we can,
we'll see how you make a note. We'll figure out something.
So if we just had that and then just burden on you to let us know and then,
Yeah.
and we would know.
I'm sure we can have a
Right.
box or a mail slot or something. It's
Yeah.
not gonna be a lot of stuff, but
No.
if you want to
We should
dispose of
just have a-
something where you can drop it off.
Don't put it in your bathroom at Mar-a-Lago.
for example,
Well, we have that stage area,
So,
right? The theater. Okay, that's helpful. Okay, how about,
So we need to-
okay,
We need to vote on
Okay, we
this,
do need to
we
vote.
need to vote on this resolution, for the first policy, then we need to have vote on the second one.
okay, you didn't take them, we didn't do them together.
No, I just
Resolutions.
did them separate.
All right.
Sorry.
All right. So consideration of the first resolution that is before us, then, all in favor, indicate by saying aye.
I,
Aye. Okay, that passes. Now consideration of we need a motion? Is there a motion then related to the,
move to adopt the resolution concerning the disposal of personal identifying information policy or, policy.
I second.
okay, in discussion related to that we would need to continue. Okay. All those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Great, that passes well.
Thank you, and that's it from me.
Okay,
Thanks, Kim.
trustee, thank you. Trustee updates, could you give us an update on our process related to interviews of new trustees and
Yes, so the committee which Taisha Adams, Tina Markui, Claire Levy and Marta Locherman and Benita and I as ex officio met and chose we had 12 applicants, I believe, and they chose 7 applicants to be interviewed. All qualified candidates. I think all of the applications actually were pretty well qualified. And then one of the persons, Sarah Friend, dropped out. So there was 6, which is what they wanted to interview in the first place. So then we conducted 4 interviews today. Tom Cosgrove, Judith Trumpler, Julie Marlin, I can't remember, Marlinberg, and Andy Saylor. And then we conduct 2 more on Thursday, and I forget their names. Elise, I think, was one of them.
George. Victoria Marshall.
Yeah, Victoria. So we, as Benita and I, don't really participate in those. We just are there to answer any questions or
and
kind of.
David was on the call too.
Oh, and David was on the call today. And so, and then I guess after that, on April 5th, they'll make the selection of the next 2 trustees, one for a 4-year term and one for a 5-year term. I don't, Benita and I haven't made any recommendations on who we thought. We gave, feedback that we collected from you all on the kind of skills we were looking for, or characteristics or whatever. And they made their selections of the people, and, everybody's interviewing pretty well. Some IT issues, but not on our end. So yeah, it's going good. Hopefully I think whoever they pick will be a good addition. Like, people had some really good ideas that I thought today when I was listening, just some really really good ideas. And I'm like, oh man, I'm gonna steal that. If they don't get selected. So yeah, that's all I have.
Great. Any other updates? Any other new business? Any other comments from staff or from the foundation? Thank you all for your support
All right.
and guidance.
Thanks,
Meeting
everybody.
adjourned.
Good meeting. Bye-bye.
Thank you.